Michel Pereira has been an unstoppable force at 185 pounds. But he's stepping into his first main event at this weight class, and he's fighting Anthony Hernandez, a known, durable guy who has the threat of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to give you my breakdown for UFC Vegas 99. And if you're new here, and you don't know what we do here, what we do is give you winning DraftKings insight, information, and tools. Our community, premium members, people have gone to WeWantPicks.com. They click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. That community has put up almost $700,000 in winning tickets over the last year. And that's because they have access to tools like the DraftKings Optimizer. This will build DraftKings fantasy lineups for you. A couple clicks of the button, it'll spit out up to 150 different lineups. And it is preloaded with the best ownership projections in the game. These projections are from UFC Vegas 98. We had a sub 4% margin of error, and we beat literally everybody. The Roto Grinders, the Awesome, the giant DFS companies of the world, we beat them all. They literally charge $100+ a month per sport. We charge 10. It is not even close. And the reason we do that is because A, we don't have the giant budget that they do to build a huge marketing machine and convince you that shit's worth $100. And B, we're in the volume game. This is the Costco model. We're going to give you incredible value and huge volume. So we are going to give our almost 4,000 premium members quite literally the greatest DFS offering on this planet at $10. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member. You're going to unlock DraftKings fantasy stuff, FanDuel fantasy stuff, prize picks, underdog, bets, picks, an artificial intelligence. It's insane. $10, WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. I'm going to break down this entire card, give you my prediction who I think wins, and if that person should be in your DraftKings fantasy lineup. Right now, we basically have 10 fights. There should be 11. Jake Hadley is supposed to have a new opponent. It's on Tapology. I'm going to break that fight down anyway, give you my pick, but it is not listed yet in DraftKings, and the UFC website doesn't have it listed yet either. On one hand, the UFC website is quite literal trash. It's crazy that Tapology has more accurate fight updates than the UFC's official website. It's crazy. So I don't know if that's just because the website sucks and they didn't get around to it yet, or if that fight was more of a rumor than actually coming to fruition. But we'll break it down anyway, and I'll give you that prediction. We're going to start at the bottom, and we're opening up with Robelis Despaigne, the big man. Robelis Despaigne is an Olympic Taekwondo medalist. I think he got a bronze medal. He's massive, 6'7", wildly athletic, insanely powerful. You're going to see his UFC debut. He smoked Parisian almost immediately. Landed 7 strikes. That's all he needed. He got the quick win bonus because he was under 1 minute. And that was his fifth professional fight. And his total cumulative time in a cage fighting in 5 fights was like under a minute. It's something insane. But then he came out in his last fight. He finally fought somebody good, somebody that is doing something with their career in Waldo Cortez Acosta. And Waldo turned into a Nurmagomedov, took him down 100 times. Robelis just couldn't get up and he gassed. So on his feet, Robelis Despaigne is insanely dangerous. If you could take him down, you could hold him there. But it's a tall task because he's massive, he's athletic. And Austen Lane is the one who's trying to convince us he's up to that task. Winless in the UFC. Winless. He does have a win in the Contender Series, and he has 12 wins in his MMA career as a whole, but he hasn't won in the UFC. He hasn't won in a couple of years, frankly. But he's a former NFL player. He's also huge. He's 6'5" or 6'6". He's athletic, obviously. The guy competed at the highest level of professional sports. He wants to come forward, push you against the cage, drag you to the ground, and work from there. And if he can execute that game plan, well, we just saw. You can have success doing that against Robelis. But if he can't, and he's stuck striking, he's going to get slept because he doesn't have much of a chin. Justin Tafa knocked him out. This first fight with Tafa, no contest because of an eye poke, I believe it was. Second fight, Tafa knocked him out. Then he came back, fought Jonathan Diniz, knocked him out. Austen Lane has no chin. This fight is set up for Robelis to succeed. I'm going to pick Robelis. I will probably have him in my DraftKings fantasy lineup. But obviously there's some concerns if he ends up getting taken down. But it is what it is. Nothing's a guarantee in this fight game. Then we have a couple of lady fights. We got Alice Ardelean taking on Melissa Martinez. Melissa Martinez coming back after 2 years away. You'll see here, 9/10/2022 was her last fight. She's coming back almost 2 years on the dot. And that's because she had a knee injury. So she had surgery, took a lot of recovery. Her striking style is she's a powerful striker. She can knock a lot of people out at this weight class. She's an active striker overall. Good footwork, good enough takedown defense to try to keep fights on their feet. And if she is taken down, she doesn't really have a lot to offer offensively, but she's pretty sound defensively. She is coming off of this loss. Wasn't a great loss. Did have a takedown, a little bit of success striking, and we're going to break down Elise Reed in a minute here. But I think this loss is somewhat indicative of what's about to happen to her. She's fighting Alice Ardelean. Alice Ardelean is squarely the underdog here. And I get it. She did not technically win this fight against Shauna Bannon, but I thought she did win. The significant strikes were close. Shauna had 77. Alice had 57. Alice also had 2 takedowns and almost 7 minutes of control. And yeah, you score by rounds, and she lost the third round, but it was a short notice step up. The first round was very close. She ended up, defending some stuff. So then you could argue, was the first round stolen at the end? Either way, I thought Alice won that first fight. It was her UFC debut, and it was short notice. She comes forward. She stays in your face. She'll throw with volume. It's a little sloppy, but she'll throw with volume, get you the cage, try to get you to the ground. Alice is going to stay in your face. She's going to keep moving forward. She's got some dog in her. She has no quit in her. I think a 2-year layoff for Melissa Martinez, a knee injury for Melissa Martinez, a full fight camp for Alice Ardelean. I think all of that says that Alice could win this fight. $7,800 is not quite like a bigger discount than that, because let's say she did get the decision in her last fight, which I think she should have. Well, that's still only 78 points. And that's great because she was $7,300 in her DraftKings salary. So we'll table her. I do think she wins. But there's a couple of dogs on here that might be worth it. But sub 8,000, I think she wins. She's probably worth it for your lineup. Then we have Elise Reed taking on Jessica Penne. Elise Reed, hit or miss. Hit or miss. And she just has that alternating wins and losses. Sijara Eubanks just beat the absolute shit out of her in her UFC debut. But Sijara was huge, and Elise is a little small. Then she beat Corey McKenna. Nice upset performance. Came back, Sam Hughes beat the piss out of her. Then she beat Melissa Martinez. Looked good in that fight. Then Loma Lookboonmee beat the shit out of her. Then she just beat Jin Yu Fry, and then Lupi Godinez beat the shit out of her. Elise Reed is either showing up looking phenomenal or getting the absolute piss beaten out of her. I do think she wins this fight. She's got the style. First of all, she has sneaky good power in her hands. She is a busy striker. She'll set a really good pace. So she'll move forward. She's got the power, great cardio, can fight a full 15 minutes, although when she loses, things don't go well, right? She's getting finished in these losses. When she wins, though, she's moving forward. She's grinding. She's staying busy. And I like to see that she can win decisions and isn't just relying on power, because this fight's likely going to go to a decision because she's fighting a tried and true vet in Jessica Penne. Jessica Penne is old. She's old. She started her MMA career in 2006. That's 18 years of professional fighting. So with that comes 18 years of experience. 18 years to build veteran savvy. And that's what Jessica Penne has. She's got veteran savvy, pretty well-rounded. Takedowns are okay. Striking is okay. Takedown defense is okay. She's just tough. She's durable. And she has all of that knowledge that comes with 18 years of professional fighting. She doesn't look like she wants to be there anymore, though. If you go back to this last fight against Tabitha Ricci, she just did not look like she wanted to be there. And obviously we know now, a year later, Tabitha's pretty good. But Jessica just showcased some toughness, used some veteran savvy, tried to survive a little bit, but she just did not look like she wanted to be there. You're going to see the loss against Emily Ducote. I thought she won that fight. That felt like a little bit of a robbery. But overall, Jessica Penne should lose this fight. She's a little older. She should be a little slower, but she's smart. She has the veteran savvy. God knows what could happen. I'm avoiding both sides of this fight. Elise Reed's going to be the pick, but I'm not spending favorite money on Elise Reed in DraftKings Fantasy against a veteran, no less. Then we have Joselyne Edwards taking on Tamires Vidal. Joselyne Edwards is somebody that I've been pretty high on in the past. I think she's better than her 2 most recent losses, and I think we've seen some skills out of her. She is also sort of hit or miss. She beat Wu Yanan, lost to Rosa, lost to Clark. That's a little tough. but she smoked Ramona Pascal, beat Kim, super close fight, beat Pudilova. She is coming off that loss to Aylin Perez. And, on one hand, you just want to be like, well, she got taken down a whole bunch. Aylin Perez is a good wrestler. You could see she had a couple of reversals, but she was dropped in that fight too. That is what's concerning. Because overall, Joselyne Andrews is a good fighter. She's a good kickboxer. She'll use range well. She uses lots of kicks to keep you at range. If you can bully her, you can get inside, you can take her down, you can have some success. But overall, Joselyne Andrews is pretty well-rounded and pretty good. Takedown defense is really the biggest weakness there. And it might matter here because she's fighting Tamires Vidal. You're going to see that she has no recorded takedowns in the UFC. But she has fights outside of the UFC. Several of them. And Tamires Vidal, on the regional scene, comes forward, throws huge punches, stays in your face, works you against the cage, tries to drag you to the ground. We haven't seen that yet in the UFC, but that doesn't mean that won't be her game plan here. But Tamires Vidal is a former soccer player, a BJJ brown belt, who immediately just runs across the cage, swinging wild, and then tries to drag you to the ground and work from there. If she ends up on top, she's dangerous. On her back, she's not as dangerous, but she can work. She's got that brown belt, and she does use it. I don't think Tamires wins, right? I think Joselyne Andrews is just going to be too good of a striker, too good at distance management. But I'm not spending $8,900 on Joselyne Andrews. That is not happening. Not happening. Tamires Vidal did just get finished by a tit punch. You heard me correctly. That wasn't an Angelo lisp. A titty punch. Her tit got punched, and I'm out. Hurts too bad. And that was against a jiu-jitsu nerd. So not great. Joselyne Andrews is the pick. Then we will move our way over to Brad Katona. And Brad Katona is fighting Jean Matsumoto. Brad Katona is good. Sneakily building a nice little resume for himself. First of all, he's a 2-time Ultimate Fighter winner. 2-time. And you're going to see, oh, but look at all these losses in the UFC. He's been here since 2018. Well, he had a stint in the UFC. He wasn't great. Left. Won the Ultimate Fighter, came back, won the Ultimate Fighter. Like, he's had some ups and downs with the UFC, some comings and goings, but he was on 2 different seasons of the Ultimate Fighter, and he won them both. This latest run has been pretty good. Beat Cody Gibson to become the Ultimate Fighting Champion. Ultimate Fighter, not fighting. He definitely isn't a UFC champion. Then he lost to Garrett Armfield. The Garrett Armfield loss was very close. Some people think Brad won that fight. It was close because of the striking volume. Brad's takedowns were there. The wrestling worked, stayed in his face, got the takedowns, but Garrett backed him up. Garrett pumped the strikes, kept Brad's head snapping backwards, and that's what the judges liked, and ultimately, that's why Brad lost that fight, and that could be an indication of what happens here. He just beat Jesse Butler, but Jesse Butler absolutely sucks, and he just beat him with wrestling. Look at that, 12 minutes of control time. If we look at Jean Matsumoto, Jacob is like insanely high on Jean Matsumoto, and I get it. He's undefeated. He has good jiu-jitsu, a black belt, in fact. Good high-level Muay Thai. And we just did watch him get ragdolled in the wrestling. So, yeah, he took down Dan Argueta twice, but he got taken down 9 times. But he never lost his composure. Stayed focused, stayed composed. Was getting taken down, would work back up. Get taken down, create a scramble. Get taken down. Ultimately, he found a guillotine. And it wasn't just like, oh, thank God the guillotine's there. I got it. He was making Dan Argueta work. You could take down Gene, but he is not settling. He is moving. He's making you work. He's throwing up his guard. He's creating scrambles. It's just creating chaos. So you have to be on your game in the scrambles, and you need phenomenal cardio because Gene is going to make you work. And he made Dan work. Dan slowed down. He choked him out. I think Gene wins here. I personally is probably going to avoid Gene at $9,000. If you ask Jacob, Jacob thinks Gene's like a future champion. I'm not exaggerating. And he might be. I just worry that I watched him get taken down 9 times. And the only reason he won is because Dan Argueta gassed. Brad Katona isn't going to gas. And yes, he's not nearly as good of a wrestler as Dan Argueta, but he does have wrestling, and he's 10 times the striker that Dan Argueta is. Brad Katona is the exact type of guy that can sneakily pull some sketchy, close decision shit off. Especially, he's got a little bit of karma, good karma, waiting for him with what people think was a robbery in the Garrett Armfield fight. So I do think Gene wins. I think he's going to be the better striker. I think he can stay in Brad's face. What did I say? Garrett won that fight by staying in his face, busy with the striking. Gene could do the same thing. So I'm going to pick Gene. I'm not going to spend the $9,000 in DraftKings Fantasy. I think we're going to try to find some finishes, and I don't think Gene's going to get a finish in this. Then we have Matheus Nicolau, and he is taking on Asu Almabayev. I'll tell you what, Matheus sucks. He's not in my lineup. Asu will be, but I'll break it down. And that was an exaggeration. Matheus doesn't suck. He actually has all the skills in the world. He just has no chin. He's got good, very technical, clean striking. He is very, very good at counter striking. You come forward a little too fast, a little too loose, he'll step off a tiny bit and blast you. Problem is, does not have the chin. The chin is gone. It's been gone for a few fights now, and he got slept. His last 2 fights got slept. Royval slept him. Perez slept him. And it's a shame because he also has very good grappling. And I imagine that's why the betting odds in this fight are closer than they should be, is because of Nicolau's grappling. It can't be because of the striking, because he keeps getting knocked out, like consistently. 100% of his fights in 2023 and 2024 have ended by knockout. And obviously that's a misleading statistic. But he is fighting a very dominant grappler in Asu Almabayev. And Asu is more than just a wrestle nerd. He also is a flashy striker. He'll spin, he'll bomb away, he will throw big shots. And with Matheus's chin, who's to say Asu can't knock him out? But I don't even factor that in. That's not even a consideration here. I don't care about Matheus's chin in this fight. Certainly, it could fail him. But I think Asu wins this with good old-fashioned wrestling. The guy is a non-stop, nasty wrestler. Non-stop. Plenty of cardio. Will shoot takedown after takedown after takedown after takedown. His defense is way too good to get caught by Nicolau. Nicolau's going to be on his back, defending takedowns. What? Throwing up a triangle? I just don't see it happening. I'm shocked that Asu is very affordable betting-wise. He's like minus 200. And in DraftKings Fantasy, 8,700. 105 points in his UFC debut. 118 in the Vergara fight. 105 in his last fight. Dude's worth the $8,700. Put him in your lineup. Period. End of story. I mean, that's the easiest one we're going to break down all day. Then we got Darren Elkins. Darren Elkins is taking on Daniel Pineda. Darren Elkins is an underdog at $8,000. I wish he was a little more affordable, but I get it. He frankly should be the favorite, and on some sportsbook, he has already officially flipped to the favorite. He's a dog. Darren Elkins is an absolute dog. He's insanely tough. Giant tattoo across his chest that just, the damage. And that's what he does. He wears damage. You could beat the shit out of him, and he's going to keep coming forward. He's not necessarily going to quit on himself. Obviously, he's been put out. Cub Swanson got rid of him. You go back a little bit. Ricardo Llamas got rid of him. Like, he can be finished. He's not the most durable guy in the world, but he's certainly the more durable of the two. Darren Elkins is a good wrestler. He comes forward. He gets his takedowns. He grinds. He strikes. He grinds. He strikes. He grinds. He strikes. He grinds. He's always moving forward. He's got plenty of cardio and zero quit whatsoever. He is fighting a very dangerous, but only for a small period of time, Daniel Pineda. Daniel Pineda is feast or famine. He has 44 professional fights in his career. Only 2 of them have been to a decision. 2. That's not great. That's not great. It happens to be his last 2, and they were losses. But he is dangerous. He'll come out, he'll wrestle early, and he can catch you in things. He got good offensive wrestling, and he has good jiu-jitsu. Not in like the traditional go to a tournament, win a jiu-jitsu match jiu-jitsu, but great scramble jiu-jitsu. He'll come forward, he'll swing wild, he'll create a mess with a takedown, and then in a scramble, if he finds something, he'll snatch it up. I think Darren Elkins is too good to get caught in some bullshit submission. I think Darren Elkins is going to be the one moving forward. Now we have 2 guys moving forward like penises touching. 2 guys running for, I don't know why my brain, you just do this and that's just, anyway. Boy, maybe I might need to talk to somebody about what that was. Anyway, both of these guys are going to move forward. I think Darren Elkins is going to shoot first. Darren Elkins will get the crazy out of there, meaning Daniel's going to come a little reckless. Darren Elkins drop, shoot. Now he's on top. Now he's working. And Daniel Pineda, if you look like a video game Street Fighter, his life is just, and that bar is just draining. 3 minutes, that dude's dangerous as shit. After that, very, very reduced danger. Daniel Pineda probably loses. Darren Elkins will be in my lineup at $8,000. He scores well in his wins. And frankly, I think he wins. Then we have Cameron Smotherman taking on Jake Hadley. We're going to focus on Jake Hadley here because as far as DraftKings is concerned at this very minute, Cameron Smotherman isn't happening. Jake Hadley's not fighting. But I'm going to tell you two things. One, I'm going to tell you who I think wins that fight. And two, DraftKings doesn't change the pricing of the already established fighter. So assuming Cameron Smotherman does end up fighting on this card, he will have a value associated to him. He's going to be the underdog. He's probably going to be at the $7,300 price range. But Jake Hadley is already locked in at $7,700 because he was fighting Brady Highstand and he was an underdog. So we have a very beautiful situation here where you're going to get a huge 4-1 favorite at underdog pricing. So Jake Hadley at $7,700 will be in my DraftKings lineup. But let me break this fight down for you. I'm going to start on the Cameron Smotherman side. I have nothing to show you here because he's not listed on DraftKings just yet. But it's his UFC debut. So even if he was here, it'd be a flag and there'd be no names. Cameron Smotherman is stepping up on short notice, a couple of days. This happened Tuesday. And it's his second crack at the UFC. He has a failed Contender Series bid a little over a year ago. He has put together 3 regional wins since then. He's a patient, accurate striker. He's going to throw in combinations. He's not very busy, but he does manage striking distance really well. His takedown defense is okay, but if he ends up on the ground, he doesn't have much to offer. He basically hates fighting on the ground. Cameron Smotherman's dangerous. He has one-punch knockout power. He'll throw combinations well. He is dangerous. But he's fighting Jake Hadley. And while Jake Hadley is just a little itty-bitty man who moved up in weight, he's a good striker. He rounds himself out with good BJJ, solid boxing, good timing on his feet, good takedowns. The aggressiveness on the ground is helpful. And he's fought by far the higher level of competition. Yeah, he lost to Charles Johnson. That was a razor-thin fight, and Charles Johnson's good. Sure, he got out-wrestled by Cody Durden. Okay, Cody Durden's a very good wrestler. But he's got very good wins. He's beating the people he should beat. He lost to a dominant wrestler and an insanely busy striker. Then he just beat Callan Loughran up in weight. Beat a dude who's supposed to be... I fucking hate that. Fuck that loser. Everybody hates that. I hope they cut him. That guy sucks. Anyway, he beat Callan, and this is a stupid wide-ass fight stance. That guy sucks. He beat him, though. He beat him. He didn't get bullied. He didn't get pushed around. Busy striking. Defended the bullshit. Got the win. I think Jake Hadley wins here. I think if he wants to go in on the wrestling, we haven't seen it in the UFC, but we know the jiu-jitsu's there. If he wants to go in on the offensive wrestling, because Cameron won't. So Jake's the one who's going to have to initiate the takedowns. If he can get it to the ground, he'll have success. I think he'll have success on the feet as well. He's fast, he's clean, he's accurate. And while Cameron's just patient and waiting, he's going to get tagged up. Jake Hadley is absolutely the pick and 100% will be in my lineup at without question. $7,700. Crazy. 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 And then we have Charles Johnson taking on Sumudaerji. Charles Johnson is one of the most active fighters on planet Earth. Last week, all they wanted to talk about was, or 2 weeks ago, was Alex Pereira's activeness. I forget what the numbers were, so I'm going to say them and I'll be wrong. But the number of fights he's had in the last 3 years is insane. Then they talk about Kevin Holland, same exact situation. Charles Johnson has more fights in the last 3 years than either one of them do. They're not all in the UFC, which is probably why the UFC wasn't touting that statistic. But even in the UFC, came in 2022, 2 years ago. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fights. This is his 9th fight in the UFC in 2 years. 9 fights in 2 years is crazy. This is his 4th fight in 2024. And he probably gets his 4th win. Charles Johnson was on our show a few weeks ago. Fans called in, asked him questions. He answered the questions. He hung out. He's a busy striker. He has cardio for days. The guy was a track athlete and he wrestled in high school. He's got cardio for days. He stays in your face. He keeps the hands moving. He trusts his cardio. He trusts his chin. We saw it in the Zach Maxim fight. He got into a little bit of trouble. He survived. He made it happen. He came back. He won that fight, got a new contract, beat Jake Hadley, beat Josh Van. The Josh Van fight was impressive because he knocked him out in the 3rd round. Late in the 3rd round, or not late. Late enough that it was the 3rd round, early enough that it absolutely torched the over 2.5. But he got the finish. The power was there. He found it. Now, Charles Johnson's a guy that has cardio for days. He's a durable guy. We've seen him dog it out in the Azat Maxim fight. And the only time he's really had trouble in the UFC is this back-to-back-to-back of nonstop wrestlers. Osborne turned into a wrestler in that fight. Cody Durden is a wrestler. Estevan's a wrestler. Like, back-to-back-to-back wrestlers. And that's not what we're going to get here with Sumudaerji. Sumudaerji is a good fighter, a dangerous fighter. but he's a striker. He's a fast striker. He does have laser accuracy, good volume. Doesn't have a lot of power, but because he is fast and because he is accurate, he can drop people and make stuff happen. If you're not looking to take him down and you let him settle in, he's really going to tee off. He's got a good in and out style. The takedown offense, if you look at the stats, it says 100%. He only tried one takedown in his career, so that's sort of a misleading stat. Sumudaerji is good, and he is somewhat durable. Obviously, Matt Schnell subbed him in an all-time comeback fight. Tim Elliott's a whole different animal. But for the most part, Sumudaerji on the feet is a danger. You can see people need to get it to the ground to give him a hard time. I think Charles Johnson does get it to the ground. Hopefully, he doesn't mess around too long on the feet because Sue is the exact type of guy that can sneak something. He's got power. He is fast. He is dangerous. But Charles Johnson has that insane cardio, and hopefully we see some offensive wrestling. Charles Johnson is going to be the pick. I don't think I'm going to have him in my DraftKings lineup. No offense, Chuck. But $8,800, even in these last 3 wins, you covered it when you beat Josh Fan by stoppage, but not Jake Hadley, not Azat Maxim. I can't. It's a lot of money to spend. So I'm probably gonna save the money for Kyler Phillips because this dude's gonna cover. We have Kyler Phillips in the co-main event taking on Rob Font. Kyler Phillips, in the last couple of years, has weaponized his cardio. It just took 2 years to go from here, where he did slow down, he did get tired. I feel like he kind of got robbed in that fight, but he slowed down, he got tired, and then we just saw the cardio. Rojo, Hani Barcelos, Pedro Munoz. All of a sudden, this guy is putting up numbers. Non-stop cardio. The year layoff between the Barcelos fight and the Munoz fight was incredible. Incredible. The glow up this man had. First of all, gorgeous man. Second of all, we saw the volume. We saw the output, the constant forward pressure. Kyler Phillips is busy as hell. Decent striking, good wrestling. Never stops. The only concern is sometimes he gets a little too crazy, does some weird shit for fun. Hopefully that doesn't happen here because he is fighting a tried and true vet. But Kyler Phillips should be able to move forward at an insane pace and put up some very real numbers. You can see he only put up 76 against Pedro Munoz. So that would go against, $9,300 is a lot of money. But I do think it's going to be a lot of wrestling. I think he's going to be very busy with the takedowns, very busy with the striking. If we could take the significant strike numbers from the Munoz fight and then add in the wrestling we had in the Julian Paiva fight, all of a sudden this dude puts up numbers. So I'm going to shoot my shot there. We'll talk about Rob Font. Rob Font, the problem is, hasn't gotten better. He just hasn't gotten better. When he was on this nice little win streak and he's putting together these wins and he beat Pettis and Ricky Simone and Morales and Garbrandt, all of a sudden it's like, oh shit. Rob Font is good. And he is good. He's got good, clean boxing, super fast, super technical. He'll work in and out of the pocket before you know what's happening. But what never happened is learning takedown defense. That never happened. And anybody who was just like, let me just take this asshole down. They do. He lost to Jose Aldo, respectable loss. Lost to Chito Vera. You'll see he landed 271 significant strikes. That almost tripled Chito's strikes. But his face got hamburger meat. He did knock out Yanez in a wild counter. And then Sanhagen just Nurmagomedov'd him. Figueiredo Nurmagomedov'd him. And now it's like, just shoot a takedown. This guy's done. That's what's going to happen here. Kyler Phillips, easy path to victory. Tons of cardio. Think he gets it done. Should be worth it. And then we have the main event of the evening. Alexander Hernandez taking on Michel Pereira. And I'm pretty sure Alexander Hernandez is going to lose this. Or sorry, Anthony. If it was Alexander Hernandez, 100% losing. Anthony Hernandez. I think he's losing as well. Fluffy is known for his durability. The Rodolfo Vieira fight is when people actually started giving a shit about this guy, right? Before that, it's like, who cares? And then the Rodolfo Vieira fight, he got ragdolled in the first round. Tossed around, taken down, slammed, smacked, all the things. Then Rodolfo Vieira, world champion grappler, got tired as shit. And Fluffy just stayed tough, got his own submission. And it was like, this guy's the black belt hunter. This guy's the real deal. And he went on a nice little run. He is squarely in a 5-fight win streak, looking to make it 6. He beat Josh Freem. Sucks. Beat Barreau. That's a decent win. Sabazian, not great. Kopylov, that's a great win. Kopylov is very, very good. So I understand the love for Anthony Hernandez. He's dangerous and he's durable. Those two things combined are spectacular. But he is fighting the most athletic, most dangerous guy he has ever fought in Michel Pereira. Michel Pereira is a different beast. He's a different beast. At 170 pounds, he was big and strong and scary. At 185 pounds, he is somehow bigger, stronger, and scarier. He hasn't skipped a beat. I assume his cardio is still good. We haven't seen it because he smoked Petrosky, smoked Olejniczak, smoked Ihor Pereira. And yeah, these aren't the three greatest guys in the world, but he beat the absolute piss out of them. Wasn't even close. So what else is he supposed to do to those guys? If you go back through his career, he is not just a get a finish or bust kind of guy. He has plenty of decision wins. He lost this fight to Connolly. This was an embarrassing moment in his career for sure. Connolly stepped up on short notice, and Michel Pereira gassed in this fight. This is the one and only time where you're going to see Michel Pereira gassing. He beat the shit out of Diego Sanchez, and then there was an illegal knee or something that called it a DQ. But here's the rest of the career. Look at all of these wins. It is a mixed bag of finishes and decisions. He beat Ponzinibbio, Fiallo, Prince, all by decision. And I love seeing that because I know Michel Pereira has some cardio. Because the only reason anybody is picking Anthony Hernandez here is because they think Michel Pereira will gas and then Anthony will just be durable and take over. Because Anthony's not the better striker, right? He's not going to hit harder. He's not going to be faster. He's not stronger. He's not more athletic. He's probably better at raw jiu-jitsu, but Michel Pereira is good enough to not get subbed. So you're literally just relying on Michel Pereira to gas, which he hasn't done in, what year was this? 5 years. Hasn't happened in 5 years. So that's it. I mean, that's an awkward pause, and I don't have a great transition there. But if you're on the Anthony Hernandez side, I would love to hear a valid argument other than Michel's going to get tired. I'd love to hear it. It's funny because somebody just commented, and if you're watching this, my bad for calling you out. Somebody commented, people like, here, let me find it. Hold on. It's going to take me an hour and a half to find it because I'm fucking recording. Here we go. I found it. People like Anthony because of his experience with 5 rounds and cardio plus wrestling. He has 0 5-round experience. Doesn't have a single 5-round fight. 0 5. So that's just, you like him for his 5-round experience. He has none. His cardio, okay, fine, but that's assuming Michel has no cardio. And his wrestling's not that good. He can't hold anybody down. I'm picking Michel Pereira. I'm confident in it. I was confident in Royval last week. Now, that doesn't mean I'm like the main event, whatever the hell. And certainly, Michel Pereira can do some capoeira bullshit, fall down, and then Anthony Hernandez could get on top of him, hold him there, and he could lose a round. That could 100% happen. These are fist fights. And Michel Pereira does some crazy shit. But I'm going to have to go. I think he's the better fighter. I'm going to have to go with him. $7,900, he will be in my lineup. Guys, that's the breakdown. You don't have a community putting up almost $700,000 in winning tickets by pure coincidence. It's not luck. It's not an accident. It's not just like one good dude padding the numbers. Thousands of people have gone to WeWantPicks.com and became premium members. Those thousands of people have access to the DraftKings Optimizer, have access to the cheat sheet. This obviously isn't loaded now. It doesn't get loaded till after the weigh-ins. That's the number one question I get. Hey, the cheat sheet's not loaded. Yeah, it doesn't get loaded till after the weigh-ins because a lot of stuff happens at the weigh-ins that adjusts the ownership projection. That's why ours are the best in the world. But unlock everything you need for DraftKings Fantasy. Unlock the bets, the picks, artificial intelligence. For 4 events, you're going to get UFC Vegas 99, UFC 308, UFC Vegas 100, UFC Edmonton. 4 spectacular events for $10. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top.